This is just going to be me doing a review and a basic discussion. I'm going to be doing this off the fly. I don't have a script prepared. I don't have any of that, but I'm going to try to do the best I can with this. So just bear with me. And, well, here's what happened. I'm on Twitter, and I follow some who are atheists, and I follow some who are theists, and I follow some people who are feminists, and I follow some people who are anti-feminist. I follow a lot of different people for a lot of different reasons and whatnot. And there's a guy named Atheist Engineer who made a comment. He put this in his thread essentially to make fun of it. And I'm going to review this. So, right off the bat, I am going to do a screen share so you can see the website I'm talking about. The website is already in the down below. If any of you start watching this live or start, viewing after I've already recorded, you can go back and whatever. Anyway, it's in the down below. And you can check out the website, but here it is right here. This is the website. So we have this goat-looking thing with some wings and some human legs and whatever, right? This guy's low shaven. Wow, keep learning science for $20. This is just ridiculously stupid. It's essentially saying, Satan, keep learning science, kids. Now, I'm really hoping that they're kidding here. Free shipping to U.S. and Canada. I don't see anything else about this. But here's here's some about the about. How did the devil invent science? Hey kids, it's your friend, the Prince of Darkness here. Just reminding you to smoke drugs, listen to death metal, and above all else, keep learning science. Yeah, because the one thing I see people who listen to death metal, they're definitely into science. Oh yeah. Please. Alright, so I tell you what. It was hard work burying all those fake dinosaur fossils and creating technology like radiocarbon dating and putting all those ideas into Chuck Darwin's head when he visited the Galapagos. But in the end, it was all worth it. So go ahead, pick up that biology textbook, enrich your understanding of physics and material through observation and experimentation. What could be the harm? All the cool kids are doing it. Okay, first of all, most of the kids who are really into science are usually referred to as nerds. These nerds are generally not the cool kids. So that's absolutely ridiculous. I hope that this is some kind of satire. I'm looking at some of the other shirts here. I don't know what the share screen's looking at. But yeah, okay. So here's the thing with this, and I've actually heard people say this stuff. Excuse me, sorry. I've actually heard people say stuff like this and be totally serious. So, first of all, the Prince of Darkness here, just to remind you to smoke drugs. Well, not all drugs you smoke. Some you inject, some you sniff, some whatever. I don't know. I've never done drugs. Well, they forced me on Ritalin for a while, and I was totally against that at the time as well. But and I don't listen to death metal. I'm not even sure what classifies as death metal. But I do love science, and I'm always continually learning science. Now, there are some people out there called, what the hell are they called? Christian Scientist. Biggest oxymoron ever, because they're anti-science. Not that you can't be a Christian and learn science. Well, that's a different debate for a different day, but they call themselves Christian Scientists, but they don't believe in science. They completely reject it. So here's the thing. If you reject all medical treatments, right? Um, because it's against your religion, and then someone in that religion is wearing something like, oh, I don't know, glasses. Why is medicine okay to help him, but medicine's not okay to help you fix a broken bone or go to the dentist or something along those lines? Why is that? Like, I mean, if there's something actually specifically different from one and the other, okay, fine, that's your beliefs, whatever. I may think they're stupid, someone else may think they're stupid, but they're your beliefs, and if you think it's the right thing to do, then it's, that's your call when it comes to your body. Um, so yeah, but here's the other thing that science is somehow bad or against God. Um, and I have a problem with this one as well, because if Satan truly is the world's greatest deceiver, and God's testing our faith by putting fossils there and fooling with the carbon dating, as the fucking thing in here says, why would a God do that? I mean, if this God supposedly loves you, and this God supposedly wants you to go to heaven, why would he continually try to trick you into going to hell? And if you believe that Satan's the ultimate trickster and that Satan's doing it instead of God testing your faith, it's Satan trying to get you into hell. Why is it that when it comes to televisions, space rockets, um, space stations, we have, nuclear reactors, we have electric cars, we have all sorts of technology at our disposal. I mean, we have the worldwide internet, for fuck's sake. I can call you up on my computer, have it ring on my TV, reach your cell phone on the other side of the planet. I know because I've done it on this channel right here. One of the people on my Water Bear Brigade show, he's in Taiwan on his cell phone while we're doing our whole show. Now, some of the times he's on his laptop. We got another guy who's on his cell phone who lives in New York, and we have Blaze who lives in the UK. All three of us are literally all around the world. Four of us. Well, sometimes the other guy shows up. Very rarely. It hasn't quite some time. But, four of us are all over the world, right? All of us. When we have a guest on the show, they're from another part of the world. We're able to do this live. There's almost no latency between when one of us talks and when the other person hears it. That means it's actually traveling way faster than the speed of sound. That's a level of technology we have gotten to. And yet, when it comes to basic simple shit like evolution that's been demonstrably proven to be true, right? Now they say, well, it's not a fact. Well, that's because you don't have facts in well, they say, well, it's just a theory, right? Well, just a theory? That's like saying, I just happen to have the biggest penis on the planet, right? If you have the biggest penis, it's not just, right? If you happen to be Bill Gates, right, and you just happen to have billions upon billions of dollars, right? There's no just. I just have $10 billion. Like, dude, it doesn't work that way. You can't put just in front of the maximum highest achievement. And I'm sorry, but if you don't realize that a theory in the scientific sense is the maximum achievement that you can reach in the scientific field, or at least most of them, some of them laws are higher than theories, and some of them theories are higher than laws. But at that point, it's just semantics and depending on what field you're in, right? But for 90% of the scientific community, whether you're talking biology, astronomy, chemistry, or the other sciences, the hard sciences, a theory is the the highest you can get, even in some of the soft ones like psychology, sociology, and anthropology, right? It's the highest you can achieve, even in there, because you have your hypothesis, right? And then you find the evidence to support that. And if someone has evidence that breaks it down, then you have to apply that. You maybe have to work an experiment in a different way, or find out why or why not that evidence does or doesn't disprove the theory, right? Especially if it's a contradicting piece of evidence. We've demonstrably proved this shit again and again and again. We know evolution happens. They say, well, it's microevolution that we've proven. We have yet to proven macroevolution. First of all, there is no micro or macroevolution. There is just the theory of the process of evolution, right? Micro, macro, there's no fucking difference, right? That's like saying there's a difference between having 3 or 4 little tiny trees that grow up to be big trees and having a forest, right? That's like saying, well, you can prove that you can put a seed in the ground and it'll grow into a little tree, right? And you can prove that that little tree is going to turn into a big tree, but you can't prove that you can do that so often that you can have a forest. That's actually an analogy, because whether something is a few trees or a forest, right, really depends. It's a vague line. So there's no actual difference between the micro and the macro evolution. That's not even really a real thing. All the only difference there is how much time has passed. That's it. How much time and how many generations? Can you tell me exactly how many generations would make a microevolution? Fuck no. Still can't do the same thing with a macroevolution. Okay, so let's move on. I'll tell you what's hard. It was hard work burying all those fake dinosaur fossils. They're not fake. They're real bone. You can do mineral tests on them to find out that those are actually bones. There's all sorts of kinds of tests. And by the way, radiocarbon dating isn't the only form of dating they do. No matter what they pick, whenever they try to find the date of a living or an expired piece of biology, or even anything really, whether it's organic or non-organic material, they use no less than 2 different forms of dating to make sure that they have an accurate estimate of how old something is. Now, they're not going to get it to the exact, second on how long it's been around, right? And if there's something that could disrupt that form of dating, then they don't use that form of dating. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. So go ahead, pick up that biology textbook. Enrich your understanding of physics and material world through observation and experimentation. They say pick up your biology textbook. And then in the next sentence, enrich your understanding of physics and the material world. Biology has nothing to do with physics. Well, very little, anyway. Sure, there's like the chemical bond thing. There's like some basic things that happen, but most of physics is has to do with like forces, mostly to do with gravity and stuff like that. I mean, the first thing you learn is how gravity works, then you go on to the electromagnetic spectrum, and that doesn't tell you anything about biology. Not really. There's some little physics you dabble in when you get into biology. For example, why a leaf is green and why it's red, right? So the light hits it and you learn a little bit of chemistry things. That's called biochemistry, by the way. But yeah, you don't enrich your understanding of physics. You learn a little tiny bit of physics, right? But no, you need a physics book to enrich your understanding of physics. Like, none of this makes any fucking sense. Although through observation and experimentation. Yeah, that's how you learn everything in the world. Through observation and experimentation. If anyone tells you you have to believe something on pure faith, right, with absolutely no evidence, and then you'll be rewarded, that person is called a con artist. Sorry. They're trying to trick you into some seriously stupid shit. These are snake oil salesmen. Now, if someone says, this is what I believe, this is why I believe it, I know it may not make a whole lot of sense to you, but it's what I believe. Fine. In that scenario, they're not trying to convince you of anything. They're just telling you where they're coming from. That isn't even an assertion. That's stating what their beliefs are. And I've heard atheists go after these people too, because they say shit like, well, you believe something for non-reason. You're asserting your belief, so prove it. No, you don't have to. Unless you're asserting something, you don't have to back that assertion, your statement up. See, there's something called a non-argument, right? And that's where you simply state a fact that's usually irrefutable. For example, I believe in a God. That's not an argument. That's a non-argument. You've just made a statement of fact, and there's no real way to disprove that without someone making an outlandish assertion about you that they would then have to prove before you'd have to prove anything. And the burden of proof is always on those who assert, no matter what, whether you're talking about a religious person, a science person, anyone. So yeah, a lot of this kind of shit that I'm talking, and again, I really hope that this is satire. I really do. But yeah, this is this. Okay, more. Let's see what the more is. Nazi socks. Nazi Hitler socks. At least it looks like it's supposed to be Hitler. Maybe. I don't know. That could be someone else entirely. Oh, Tesla socks. Okay, never mind. Okay, Tesla socks. Actually, those are kind of cool. It's like, that doesn't really look like Hitler, especially with the hair and that the mustache is kind of... So maybe this is actually like a science thing and they're just making fun of ridiculous religious crap. Fun size. I like that. That's cute. Okay, so I guess this website really is... I like the sloth. Okay, I guess this really is like a satire thing. But this is satire that's actually pretty bad, because I've actually heard actual pastors and preachers and people of religious faith, right? And Atheist Engineer, for the last couple of weeks that I've seen, he's been arguing with these people who are called flat earthers, right? So they make the most ridiculous claim. They say we never went to the moon, right? But the one thing they can't refute is the fact that all over the world, as we were going to the moon, countries all over the world were watching with radio telescopes of us going to the moon. They monitored exactly where the space shuttle was throughout its entire journey, from its launch to till when they splashed down in the ocean, right? They monitored the whole thing. Russia had their own radio telescopes. There was radio telescopes in Australia and a whole bunch of other places, right? And China, I believe. And we have all that data. That hasn't gone away. And they say, what? Just because you have a picture of a shuttle? It's not a picture. It's a radio fucking telescope. If you're going to argue this shit, maybe you should at least understand some basic fucking technology before you make these dipshit claims. We have all sorts of evidence that we actually went to the moon. NASA just took big pictures of the moon, right? Real close-up ones, and you can see that all the flags are still standing. All of them. Now, because there's no atmosphere on the moon, the solar radiation has bleached them. See, if you've ever noticed, if you leave something out in the sun, right, a whole lot of times, over time, the colors in your shirts and sheets and blankets and whatever else you have, they start to bleed away. Some of that is due to the washing machine, but a large portion of that, if you hang dry, will be due to solar radiation. Now, in an atmosphere environment like we have here on Earth, it's not going to be very bad. It'll take a while for that stuff to actually bleed and fade. Now, in outer space, there is no atmosphere, so there's not a lot to block that electromagnetic radiation. That radiation has washed over all the flags, and they're pure white by this point, which means it makes it look like the French beat us to the moon. All right, so this is me signing off now. I hope you enjoyed this little rant of mine. It turns out that website was just satire, or at least looks that way. I hope you've all enjoyed, and have a good one. Oh, by the way, last note, right? So we can make the internet, right? We can have these extremely well-detailed televisions up to 4K, 3D, with all our fucking technology. Rockets that can, planes that can, jets that can go, what, Mach 3 or 4 now, at least? So, yeah, I seriously think it's messed up that people think that on such a on when it comes to biology and stuff like that. I mean, okay. Here's another example. One of my favorite actors, Gene Wilder. He had cancer a while ago, lymphatic cancer, and they used his own stem cells. His own. They didn't get it from a fetus. They took his own stem cells to help him recover from cancer. I'm going to link that in the down below as well, I think. And he recovered from it. But you're telling me that as much progress as we made in medicine, right, where people living longer and longer, and where the more extreme people come in with injuries, that they're surviving those more and more, you're telling me we don't understand enough about biology to know that, to trace our lineage backwards? Are you kidding me? This is ridiculous. So, all right, have a good one. I hope everyone enjoys. Bye-bye.